Google Assistant combining with Bard.
Sorry.
That's the main thing that's happening. Google Assistant combining with Bard. So now there are generative AI features inside of Google Assistant. So you can ask Google Assistant to summarize a web page that you're on, and it will look at your screen in Chrome and read the whole web page and give you a generative AI summary, things like that. Mm-hmm. So the idea is more of the features from this Bard experiment are going to be surfaced to people who use Google Assistant regularly. Lots of interesting stuff that could open up the possibilities of. I'm curious if you guys have favorite stuff that you saw, but I kind of like the summary webpage thing seems like very reliable to me.
If I just go real quick, because I know David will go on for the next 45 minutes on this. I mean, this is exactly what we just talked about with Copilot last week with like Amazon Alexa and ChatGPT stuff a few weeks ago. Just like all of this generative AI inside of the assistants will make these assistants so much better because it's just like conversation based and they understand context, and this can use your text, voice, images. It can take actions on your phone.
Yeah.
All of this is going, again, probably the third week in a row, it's going to be the new tech support that we never have to deal with again. It's going to make using technology for people who don't know technology so much easier. And that's a huge win.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm picturing like my grandma using, I don't know if she's going to do it, but like asking the assistant to do something that you would think is like an insane request. Like, can you order the flowers from the site from the thing? And then it just does it.
Yeah,
and you're like, oh my God, it actually works.
That's how all of us feel though when somebody asks us something and we're like, well, I can just Google it. And they're like, how do I Google it? It's like, Google is very good. Just literally type what you told me on the phone and Google probably figures it out.
Yeah.
That's what this is now. And like Assistant is just already the best out of all of them.
Yeah.
So now we're getting Bard on top of that.
Yeah.
It's just going to be awesome.
It's kind of supercharging like a lot of the things that the assistant already was able to do. And I think when Bard first launched, we were kind of like, why isn't this just Google Assistant but better? And I am predicting that within the next 2 years, the Bard branding goes away and it just gets rebundled into Assistant.
You think so?
This is going to be like better Google Assistant.
Hear me out. What if Assistant gets bundled into Bard?
I feel like Assistant's such a better name than Bard.
I would so much rather say Hey Bard than Hey.
But Google is the strongest brand name in the world as far as like.
I just want to stop saying Hey.
Also, like the amount of devices.
You did it. You did it, Andrew.
The amount of devices that are already out in the wild that use the Hey G keyword is insane. Like, and so it'd be a lot easier to software update those to on the back end, just be a lot better at your queries than it is to totally change.
I don't care about ease. I care about what I want. Google, Dieter.
I mean, if they allowed you to just change the keyword, like with Amazon, you can say, hey, Alexa, you can also say, hey, computer, you know, they let you say like 3 or 4 different things.
Yeah. Maybe maybe it's dual keywords.
Yeah. Google's such a pain in the neck to say every time.
That's the slippery slope though, is you want it to be slightly irregular of a word, because if it's too easy it's going to accidentally
then you get a Siri issue and then
so you just say hey mom and it goes, oh, did you say hey Bard? And you're like, yeah, that wasn't that close, but it thinks it so you got to be
sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. I feel like Assistant with Bard is just kind of like the natural progression of what they want Assistant to be, right? Because now it can, I mean, Google Assistant's always been able to like look at your display and like see what's on your display and stuff, but now it can do things contextually with that. So it understands a lot more and it can bundle into your other Google apps that you have too. Like a couple of weeks ago, they announced Bard extensions, which allowed you to like access things in your email and do this and that. And, you know, we've talked about last week, like, I think Casey Newton tried it, and it was not great for him. Like, it was making up emails that he had never sent.
I'm going to need to cite its sources a lot.
Exactly. Which, by the way, the source citing on the new Arc version is amazing.
That's a great shout out.
Yeah.
So, speaking of, this is a total tangent, but speaking of AI features, this browser that David put us on, this, what is it called? Arc browser, has this big new update where they added a bunch of AI features, and they're actually genuinely very useful. And one of them is just, hey, summarize this web page for me. So if I'm on a web page, I ask it for a summary, and then it cites the part of the website that it's drawing that fact from. So if I highlight a sentence and it goes, I want, like, where did you read that? It scrolls down and highlights the sentence that says what it was.
And it doesn't pull the exact sentence. Like, it generates a new sentence to make it simpler, but when you like you
can
click
see where it
find
got
on
it
page,
from.
it brings you exactly to where it brought it to.
Yeah. So you know when it's making something up or if it is actually drawing from the actual page.
Yeah.
That's good AI.
Yeah, that's good.
Google,
AI.
do a little more of that, please.
Yeah.
Citing sources.
Yeah, they also have like find in page where you do Control F or Command F to do find in page. But if you can't find in page, you just type a question about the page,
That's so
and
sick.
it creates like a Gen AI answer about the page. Really good. Anyway, back to Bard. It's basically just like a supercharged Google Assistant, and this is, I think, what everyone sort of always assumed that Google Assistant was supposed to be. So now it can look at things on your screen. It can access things in your email. It is a lot more of like a generalized assistant, at least as far as plugging into Google services.
Yeah. That's what I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
At I/O, I think we all assumed this is what happens. I just wasn't expecting it to be 5 months later.
Yeah.
Like already.
I mean, ChatGPT basically added multimodal support like 2 weeks ago, and then like flies dropping, it was just like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, like we're kind of moving towards that omniscient kind of AI at this point.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, Assistant with Bard is not out yet. It's coming later, which is
As are
sad.
so many of
As
these.
are so many of these things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was curious. Apple did a couple of these. Now Google's doing a couple of these later this year.
it's a trend that I don't like.
I'm with you.
Yeah.
It's weird that we don't know when exactly. Some of them would say like next month. Some of them are saying
December,
later
I
this
think.
year,
Yeah.
early next year. I don't like that
It's
as much.
weird that they don't just like wait to release it or finish
Ship
the
it.
feature first.
I'm sure it wasn't one of the first ones I remember was that iPhone, what was it called?
It's probably a picture feature.
There's a picture feature where it was like increasing the resolution or something.
It was the like middle light detail. It wasn't highlight.
Why
or
can't
low
I
light.
remember what it
It was
was
the
called?
Photonic Engine has this feature. I forgot. What is it called?
What was it? What are you
It
talking
would
about?
it would like make your fine detail in pictures
It had
slightly better.
very distinct name. I want to say it was probably like iPhone 11 or
Not
12.
Photonic Engine.
Right, it had a different name.
not
Wait.
I just remember
Not
it being
deeper
a like
pixels, right?
Deep Fusion.
Deep Fusion.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
what it is,
Thanks,
yes.
thanks for the deep one.
Well,
Deep
yeah,
Fusion
it's
felt
good.
like the first one, and that was like this very small thing in a huge list
And
of
it took
stuff they
forever
announced.
to launch.
It took forever to launch. Now it feels like 50% of the features they mention on a phone between the iPhone event and the Google event
yeah.
aren't coming out till months, at
kinda
least a
odd.
month.
There
I
were a
hate-
couple years in a row. We were right. That started with Deep Fusion, where the iPhone every year would have like one camera feature that would be coming later.
Yeah.
And every time I reviewed the phone, I would have to be like, I guess we'll see because it's not out at the time of this review. And then the next year there was another single camera feature, and the next year there's another single camera feature. But you're right. Now I feel like there's a couple things, both with cameras and other stuff on the phone, that are coming later or that are either about to come out or not yet.
Yeah,
on the
even
phone.
even double tap on the Apple Watch is still not out yet.
Not out on the watch until sometime soon.
I feel like every product in the last Apple event had at like two things that weren't coming out when it was launched.
It's weird.
And it just makes me think a lot about, you've always said like don't buy things based on future promises, and we're getting to the point where half of the features are future promises, and it's I don't think it's a good look in general.
If you are trying to buy any of these things, I would buy it assuming that that feature is never going to come.
Yeah.
Like for real.
That's true.
Because half of these, we're going to talk about the software features on the Pixel in a little bit, and a lot of them are not going to launch with the phone. I would buy the phone assuming you never get that feature.
Yeah.
And maybe someday in the future they'll put it on the phone and it'll be a bonus for you, but that's still true about every gadget.
Or that's going to be way worse than they promised.
Exactly, yeah.
Like Deep Fusion, remember it barely did anything?
Yeah.
Like we waited months for it, and then it came and everyone was excited, and it was like, that maybe looks like 1% better if I squint.
Yeah,
like,
if you
I
take
can't
the
really
photo
tell.
in just the perfect dim lighting, then you can maybe see more detail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this Bard assistant thing, one of the examples that they give is like, you've got a picture of your puppy on your phone, and then you pull it up and you say, write me a cute social media post about my puppy.
And it just does it.
And it just like contextually writes one. But it's like,
I remember
why are we just making all the computers talk to the computers now?
We talked about this at I.O. Remember? Like how it's like drafting social media posts. You guys were mad at the face swap. making my own social media post feels so much
okay
a line crossed so much
now.
weird.
Yeah, that's the social media post thing though. I'm like, what?
This feels weird,
especially if we're having our computers like scrape to gain like the general consensus of other people's posts, and then all those other posts are made by AI too. It's like, what are we?
I also feel like they probably use the example of a dog because a dog's not going to care that I didn't write a social media post for it, but you sure as hell know that I can be like, write my mom a really nice birthday message that I post publicly, and it's like greatest mom in the world, blah blah blah, and then like she finds out that I asked Bard to write that. That's the most. Oh my! I hate just thinking about that. Mom, I love you. I will write real messages to you.
I will still put photo editing features on the other side of the line.
We'll get to that later.
But we'll get to that later.
Yeah.
So
I think that the overall with the Bard and Assistant stuff, it's like they're gonna introduce all of these flashy things that you can do with it, but the most important thing, which is going to be just the way we interact with computers in the future, is that you can just interact with them more naturally. And that's like a low key, like not super exciting, not flashy thing. But the fact that like you can talk to your computer and it knows what you're talking about, even if you don't use the very specific keywords you're supposed to use with a smart device, is a big deal.
I mean, think of what every quality of life small like update is on anything. It's to make usability better. This is like the quality of life update for tech.
Yeah. If my grandma can interact with it, then that's important.
It lowers the barrier of entry of every advanced feature. Yeah, which is pretty sick.
So anyway, I'm gonna put how to get people to like and subscribe into Google Fibonacci.
Oh, I don't even think. Oh, into Google Fibonacci.
Okay, so the output says like and subscribe.
Oh, you can only like if you subscribe.
Is that actually isn't that the Fibonacci sequence they just discovered? The one where
it's Fibonacci 2.
Yeah, it goes 1, 3, like, subscribe, 10.
Yes, comment.
42, 40, comment.
Yeah.
Tweet.
You know the Andrew, you know the song. David, sing it with me. 1, 3, like, subscribe, 10, 42, comment.
That sounds like a ham at a church.